Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. O Ramakrishna, the establisher of the eternal religion, the embodiment of all religions and the best of all incarnations, we salute thee. In the last reading class, we left at page number 544. We shall continue from there today. Sri Ramakrishna was discussing there the topic of Bhavamukha. The Divine Mother had asked him to stay in Bhavamukha. So the author was discussing what is this nature of this Bhavamukha, what does it mean, etc. Today we shall start the topic. When the I consciousness of the Master vanished altogether, he remained in oneness with the unqualified being of the Divine Mother beyond the limits of this all-pervading I. And with the vanishing of this ubiquitous I, vanished also the last vestige of the infinite waves of ideas in the I waves which go by the name of the universe. Again, when a little of I consciousness manifested itself in him, he saw both the Saguna immense I and all the ideas in it, united with the Nirguna aspect of the Divine Mother. In other words, as soon as he attained the Nirguna state, the existence of the difference in itself, in that one without a second, vanished from the Master's consciousness. And when he was conscious of the Saguna, immense I-ness, he felt that which was then Shakti was verily the Brahman. Saguna was indeed that which Nirguna was. Prakriti, the material cause of the universe, was the snake that was motionless, was then moving. That is, that which was Nirguna in its own nature was really Saguna in sport. After he had the full direct vision of the nature of the Divine Mother, in the combined aspects of Nirguna and Saguna, the Master got the command, remain in Bhavamukha. That is, do not remain as the Nirguna being by the complete merging of the I-ness, but live your life and do good to the people, living in constant and full direct knowledge of the fact that you are none other than that limitless I, from which all kinds of ideas in the universe spring, and that your desires and actions are verily its desires and actions. That means here in essence, he is discussing that Sri Ramakrishna used to feel himself as the Ishvara who manifests this whole universe out of himself. He becomes the universe himself, he maintains it, he dissolves it within himself. This is the Saguna Brahman. And in the Nirguna aspect, he does not create because he alone is there. And this Nirguna aspect cannot be described at all. It is beyond all description. So, Sri Ramakrishna felt that Nirguna alone plays itself in the form of Ishvara. Ishvara is Saguna Brahma. And Ishvara, when he does not play the role of a creator, etc., then he himself becomes the Nirguna, the Brahman. So this one is couched in a very terse philosophical language here. Thus, to have the direct experience and conviction or feeling in all respects, at all times and in all states, that I am that immense I, that ripe I, is the meaning of remaining in Bhavamukha. That immense I means the eye of the Lord, God. So it is God's creation God Himself is the material, God Himself is the person who manifests it, and God Himself sustains it. So everything, the manifested universe, is God Himself. So to feel that everything is I, everything belongs to me, everything has come out from me, that means I am Ishvara, telling that I am the Lord Himself, who is the creator, destroyer and maintainer. So, meaning of being in Bhavuka means to feel that oneself is an incarnation. Incarnation is none other than Ishvara Himself. When one reaches the state of Bhavamuka, all the ideas, such as I am the son of so-and-so, I am the father of so-and-so, I am a Brahmana, I am a Shudra and so on, are completely washed off from the mind and no sign of them is left. And one always feels that one is that immense I pervading the vast, inconceivable universe. So, when the aspirant starts as a sadhaka, he may be feeling, I am a Brahmana, I am a Shudra, or I am son of so and so. But when he realizes the Bhavamuka state, if ever anyone realizes it, as Sri Ramakrishna realized, then all that ideas that I was the son of a Brahmana, etc., vanish once and for all. He only feels I am the Lord. From me, the whole universe have come. The whole universal beings, all the beings are my own creation. I am the father of everybody. So he feels himself as the living embodiment of the Lord Himself, God Himself. That's what an incarnation means. That is what a person in Bhavamukha means. The Master therefore always taught us, my children, all the I's, such as I am the son of so-and-so, I am the father of so-and-so, I am a Brahmin, I am a Shudra, I am a Pandit, I am rich and so on, or unripe eyes. They are limited eyes, connected with a small biological group or connected with only one's body. They bring about bondage. Give up these and think, I am His devotee, I am His son, and I am a part of Him. Keep this mood firm in your mind, or he would say, tie the non-dual knowledge, Advaita Jnana, in the hem of your cloth, and then do whatever you like. So, we must feel that we are part and parcel of God, not part and parcel of this earthly relationship or biological circles. The reader will perhaps say, was not then the Master a follower of the doctrine of non-dualism? It must be admitted that he did not accept the non-dual doctrine founded by Shankaracharya, in which the very existence of the universe has been denied. As the Master upheld a difference in the Divine Mother herself, Swagata Veda, and saw her existence in two different aspects of Nirguna and Saguna. It is not so. The Master accepted all the doctrines of non-dualism, qualified non-dualism, Vishittadvaita, and dualism, Dvaita. But he used to say, these three doctrines are accepted by human mind according to the stage of its progress. In one stage of the mind, dualism finds acceptance. The other two are then left or felt to be wrong. In a higher stage of spiritual progress, the doctrine of qualified non-dualism is regarded as true. One then feels that the reality, which in itself is eternally devoid of attributes, exists in sport as always possessed of attributes. One then cannot but feel that not only is dualism wrong, but there is no truth in non-dualism also. Finally, when man reaches the ultimate limit of spiritual progress, with the help of sadhana, he experiences the nirguna nature of the Divine Mother and remains in oneness with her. All the ideas such as I and you, subject and object, bondage and liberation, vice and virtue, merit and demerit, etc., are then all merged in one. In connection with this topic, the Master mentioned the experience of Hanuman, who was a bright example of the Dasya attitude of devotion. He said, at one time, Ramchandra asked Hanuman, his servant, what is your attitude towards me? How do you look upon, think of, and worship me? When, O Rama, replied Hanuman, I am conscious of my body. In other words, when I feel I am this visible body, I have the conviction that Thou art the Lord and I am Thy servant. Thou art one to be served and I am one to serve. Thou art one to be worshipped and I am one to worship. When I am conscious of myself as the individual self, that means soul, one with the mind, the intellect and the soul, I have the conviction that Thou art the whole and I am a part. When I consider myself as part of the mind, which thinks I am an individual soul, Jivatma, then I consider myself as a part and you are the whole. And when again I remain in Samadhi, in the mood that I am the pure self, devoid of all qualifying adjuncts, I have the conviction that I am also verily that which Thou art. Thou and I are one. There is no difference whatsoever. So Hanuman expresses all the three ideas of non-dualism, dualism, and qualified dualism. All the three are in one person at different stages. Sometimes he feels dualism is true, sometimes he feels that he is the part and parcel of God, then non-dualism will true he will feel. When he forgets himself in Samadhi, he feels that non-dualism is true. So all the three are true at different stages of our mind. The Master said, one who has realized the non-dual state becomes silent, natural. He goes beyond all the senses and mind. So the question and expression in any way does not come. Therefore he becomes silent. Non-dualism is not a matter to be described. It is a very important point that we have to remember. Non-dualism, the Advaita state, cannot be described, should not be described, and whoever tried to describe it have created more confusion than any clarification. So, whenever Advaita is discussed, there are controversies to the galore. There is no end of questions and there is no end of confusion. As soon as one tries to speak or say anything, dualism becomes inevitable. If one starts talking, that means you can talk as only a dualist, because you are a talker, listeners are there in front of you, and your talking is going on. So dualism has come. There is no non-dualism there. So you cannot talk as if you are experiencing it. There can be no experience of non-dualism when you are dwelling in the dualistic state. As long as there are thought, imagination, etc., there is also dualism within the mind. Non-dual knowledge has not yet been attained. It is only the reality of Brahman, in other words, the Nirguna aspect of the Divine Mother alone, that has not come out of man's mouth, and thus it has not been defiled. Nobody has been ever able to talk about the experience of his Advaitic knowledge, because it is beyond, you cannot describe. If you describe, you are already in the dualistic state. All your mind is occupied with the dualistic idea, language is dualistic. So how can he express the real Advaitic state? So if a man, this is the one thing about Advaita, it can never be discussed. That is why it has never been discussed. It will never be discussed also in future. That is why Sri Ramakrishna used to use the word, it is undefiled by the tongue of man. It has never become a defiled one, the Uchishta, as they say. Nobody has talked about Brahman. Therefore, Brahman is untouched by the tongue of man. It has never been defiled in that sense. That is, it has not been expressed by human speech. For this truth is beyond human mind and intellect. Advaita truth. How can it be spoken or explained by words? That is why the Master said about the non-dual truth. Truth, my children, it is the ultimate truth to be realized, not spoken about. It is therefore clear, as the Master used to say, that as long as the ideas of I, you and bodily functions like speaking, walking, etc. are there, one must accept dualism in practice. Nirguna and Saguna, or as they are called, the absolute and the relative, and that during that time one must remain in practice a qualified non-dualist, though you may talk of non-dualism. Many were the examples that the Master gave on that matter. He said, take for example the natural and the reverse orders of the musical scale. You raise the pitch of your voice in the natural order of sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, sa, and lower it in the reverse order to saying the reverse way. Similarly, you realize the knowledge of non-duality in samadhi, come down again and then remain in the eye consciousness. So you are singing the tunes only. When you are going up, you go and end up in non-dualism, then come down and you are in dualism. The same song is continuing. Some was at the high pitch, now at the low pitch. The music continues. Similarly, the Atman, the aspirant, is sometimes in non-dualistic experience and sometimes in the dualistic experience, sometimes in between, then qualified non-dualism. Again, another example the Master is giving. Again, take a bilwa fruit in your hand and try to ascertain which of the three, the outer shell, seeds or the pulp, is the fruit. At first, you discard the shell as not being the substance and do the same with the seeds, and then on isolating the pulp, say that is the real vilva fruit. Pulp is the real vilva fruit, we say. Then comes the decision that the shell, like the seeds, belongs to what the pulp is made of. Pulp cannot be alone got. It is always with seeds and the shell. So all the three belong to the same fruit. So you cannot say the pulp alone is the fruit. Pulp, the seeds, the shell together make the fruit. It is the shell, seeds and the pulp that together make the bilva fruit. Similarly, after directly knowing the Absolute, comes the conclusion that that which is the Absolute is in sport the relative, the universe. So the same Absolute, the same Parabrahman, which is experienced in Samadhi as non-dual experience, so he is experienced as this world. What we experience as dualism, these are also the same Brahman. Brahman in sport, in another mode, different modes. So Sri Ramakrishna gives another example for that. The same thing in different modes. We think that these two are separate, but there is no reason to think they are different. So similarly, non-dualism and dualism, they belong to the same reality, ultimate reality. That is Paraparpam. The pith of a plant. By removing the sheaths of the stem of a plant, you reach the pith and think that to be the essence. Banana tree. Suppose you just go on peeling the stem of it. you come to the pith of it. And you think the pith is the essence of this banana plant. Then comes the realization that it is to the sheaths that the pith belongs to, and it is to the pith that the sheaths belong. It is both these together that make the stem of the banana plant. So, dualism or non-dualism, they belong to the same Brahman in different states. Quotes on an onion. Another example Sri Ramakrishna is giving. And just as when one goes on removing the coats of an onion, nothing is left over. So, in order to ascertain the self, when one goes on eliminating the body, the mind, the intellect, etc., and make sure that none of this is the self, one finds that there is nothing separate called I, but everything is he and nothing but he. It is like saying, it is my Ganga, by putting a fence around a part of the water of the Ganga. On the big river, some people put a part of that. Oh, this is my Ghat. So they make a separation there. They say, this is my Ganga. But that Ganga is not different from main Ganga. It is only for the name's sake. It is my Ganga for him. So, now to come back to our main topic again. So he says, when somebody says it's my Ganga, Ganga is not divided, but he has put some fencing to mark a small place of Ganga for his own use, or to pride himself that he owns a part of land where Ganga is flowing. So now the author says, now to come back to our main topic again. It is needless to say that the master dwelt in the realm of Vidya Maya, the Maya leading Godward, a few steps below the attributeless being of the Divine Mother. When he was having the full knowledge of the universal I in Bhavamukha and was seeing the manifestation of the many from the one. But even in that state, the manifestation and knowledge of that one is so great that the master felt quite fully that it was he who was doing, thinking and saying whatever anyone in the world was doing, thinking and saying. Sri Ramakrishna felt it. It is one God alone that is there in every being. So that one God alone is saying, is talking, is experiencing through everybody, from the small blade of grass or a small ant to the highest God. Even a glimpse of this state is very wonderful. The master said that when one day a man was walking upon grass, he was feeling very much hurt in his chest, as if it was on his chest that the man was walking. You see, he was identifying himself with God. God is there inside everybody. So if someone walks on a grass, he may be walking upon the grass, but the Chaitanya or the consciousness in that grass is the same as your consciousness. You are feeling the pain due to the man walking over the grass. And Sri Ramakrishna felt that one. He was feeling very much hurt in his chest, as if it was on his chest that the man was walking. In fact, the blood in his chest coagulated to produce black marks, and he was extremely fidgeting on account of pain. So many other saints also have experienced this sort of an Advaitic experience. The mood, I am the servant of the Divine Mother, I am her devotee, I am her child, or I am a part of her, was always there in the master's mind. When he came further down to the lower state of the realm of Maya, and still further down in the realm of Avidya Maya, the Maya leading away from God, or that of lust, anger, worldly attachment. By constant practice, his mind never descended there. He never came down to lower than that I am part and parcel of God. He never came down. That is, never became a worldly person who was troubled by lust, anger, greed, etc. He could never come down to that level at all. Or to put it in another way, the Divine Mother prevented it descend to that realm. As the Master used to say, Mother prevents one who has taken complete refuge in her from taking a wrong step. Any great saint or seer is free from lust, anger, greed, etc. not by his effort. God Himself protects him from such descent to that level. Therefore, it is clear that after he attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the limited or the unripe I in him vanished completely. I in him vanished completely, and the little of that was left over saw itself united for all eternity with the immense or the ripe I. So Sri Ramakrishna's I was always connected with the Ishvara, with God. Never came down. That I sometimes used to feel that it was a part or limb of the universal I, and again approaching nearer and nearer to that all-pervading I, used to merge in it. So he used to feel himself one with the Ishvara and would talk and say as if God Himself was speaking. And when he went higher than that one, he stopped even talking, got merged in Samadhi itself. It was through this process that he came to know all the ideas of all minds. So when he is identifying himself with God, and it is from God that all of us have come, it is God's mind, universal mind, to which we are all parts. So my mind or your mind, we are all part of that universal mind. It is God alone who is thinking through us. God is thinking through me, through you, through everybody. So therefore he identifying himself with God's mind could know what is going on in any mind. So he could know what I am thinking even before I know, because he is identified with the universal mind and he sees all the minds there. What minds are thinking is what God is thinking, and he has identified himself with God. So as a God, he knows everything, everybody's mind at any time. For it is this immense I, that is the God's I, that is the source from which all the ideas of all the minds of the world spring. The Master was able to know and understand all the waves of ideas rising in all the minds of the universe, only because he could always remain identified with that all-pervading I. In that state, the Master's mood, I am a part of the Divine Lord, also gradually vanished, and the universal I, or what may be called the spiritual teacher, or called the Divine Mother, manifests itself through him as the spiritual teacher, possessing the power of bestowing grace and inflicting punishment. Therefore, Master did not then appear to be the humblest of the humble, but all his actions, such as his movements, behavior with others, assumed a different form. He, like the mythical wish-fulfilling tree, then asked the devotee what he wanted. We saw the Master Dakshineshwar daily assume that mood in order to bestow his grace on especial devotees. And again we saw him that mood on January 1st, 1886. On that day he was in that mood and by his touch transmitted spirituality to or awakened the dormant spiritual power in the devotees present there. That is a wonderful story. It will not be out of place to narrate here. So this narration we will take up in our next class. Niranjanam nityamanantarupam bhaktanukampadhrita vigraham vai Ishavataram parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. O Ramakrishna, the taintless one, the eternal one, the one with infinite forms, the one who has assumed form out of compassion to the devotees, the incarnate Supreme Soul and the adorable Lord of all, we salute thee, bowing our heads before you.